Welcome to the Shift podcast, where we have conversations with people that have made a shift in their life that's put them on the path they're on today. I'm Erin.
And I'm Dan, and we hope that these conversations will inspire you to take a shift in your life. Welcome back.
How are ya?
Yeah, good. It's been a crazy week.
Has it?
Yeah, I was in Sydney with one of the brands that I'm doing a bit of work with.
Yep.
So the trade show all weekend, and it's been a while since I've done a proper trade show. So standing around for 7 hours on your feet.
Oh no!
Talking to tie kickers.
Thing.
Yeah, but it was good. It was a lot of fun,
yeah.
And the brands perceive so well in their market, in their industry. Good. So it was good to get home to the family last night.
Was it nice having loads of conversations there with them?
With the right people, yeah.
Yeah.
There's the ones where you're they walk in, you just know it's like this guy's.
I have 8 free hats, 3 lanyards,
kicking stones and tires the whole way, and you're like, so do you even know what we sell in here?
Yeah.
But no, it was good. It was good. We met a lot of their key customers that came in, and just like to see you in face to face. A lot of the time they just deal with you either through the call center or over the phone. But so that was nice, and the trade show was a profitable outcome for the brand. So
good.
It's good.
Yeah, great.
And then getting home to the young fella last night to my son. So it's hard being away from the family, hey?
Yeah.
For a long period of time.
Yeah. Well, my husband works away 6 months of the year, so
I don't know how you do that.
I love it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely times where I wish he was there, but I don't really know any different either.
Mm.
So I'm actually concerned about what it would be like 12 months of the year.
Yeah.
Get out of my house, our house.
Yeah. Absolutely. How was your week anyway?
Yeah, really good. I actually had an amazing day with a potential new client.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't say too much, but just very exciting. Finally seeing some luxury come to the country. So a lot on their processes, service rituals. So yeah, once I can say a bit more, I will. But it's very exciting.
Good stuff.
Yes.
So today is one of those episodes where it's going to be just you and I talking about all things business, leadership, us, what's happening in our world. Mm-hmm. So I thought it'd be good to kick off with, I've got this view on how we're, kind of bringing the new leadership through, whether it's through corporate or through small business, and how we're setting those leaders up for success.
Yeah.
And the more and more I'm working with businesses, I'm starting to see that there's a real gap in regards to, in my view anyway, with inspiring leaders who demonstrate, healthy habits from a leadership point of view and instilling those in the up and coming leaders.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you seen much of that in your space?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's interesting. I find that there's some of the directors that will also jump to the fact that they can't find good staff. And then when I dive a little deeper into, okay, well, what does Casey like to do on her weekends? Oh, I have no idea. Yeah. So yeah, struggling with getting to know the employee, and then the employee struggling to know the real why as to the company, why it started, where it's going.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily take every single employee on the journey as to where it's going all the time. But I think the leaders as well, and I saw it on yachts where you've got these people that can do these tasks really, really well, but they don't know how to lead people. So because they're so good at the job, they think they automatically get promoted to this level of management and leadership, but they can't manage people and they don't understand people.
I've got this view that just because you're a great salesperson or great at customer service doesn't mean that you necessarily have the leadership qualities to lead and inspire people.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed massively is there's this, to be successful in the eyes of, some leaders, it's like you've got to work all day, all night, can't spend any time with your family. Most of these leaders are pretty unfit and unhealthy when you're from a surface level, when you look in, stressed out their eyeballs.
Yeah.
And these are the people that we put up on pedestals to say that's what success looks like.
But do you think that that's what they feel that they need to do, or they're expected to do?
I think they're just sucked up in the vortex of probably the leaders that they followed.
Yeah.
I go back to my corporate days, you know, it was very rare that you found a leader that spent plenty of time with their family, that went to the gym regularly, that ate well, that picked their kids up from school. You know, what you'd see leaders come in early. So they're normally there by 6 or 7. They're normally the last ones to leave. And it was almost like celebrated. Yeah. You know, you look at that and you're like, oh, that's obviously he's working long hours. He must be successful. He or she is in a executive level gig. I must have to replicate that to get there. And it used to be frowned upon. Like if you left the office at 3 o'clock to go pick up your kids, or if you walked in the office at 9 because you dropped your kids, it was like, well, you got the half shift today, you know?
Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah.
In the last role that I did, I shared a job with another person. So we were 2 people doing the same job, which is quite rare, especially in corporate life and what you do on land. But she worked all hours of the day and night. And she was very, very good at what she did. She's an incredibly smart woman, but constantly creating things on top of things that were already created. And for me, when I went and took over, you know, I would leave my desk at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. I would do my hours, but I was doing the stuff that had to be done. I wasn't necessarily going and thinking, oh, what else can I create? Because there was a system for everything. And I took a lot of pride in what I did. And if things had to get done, I did it. I stayed up late and got it done. But at the same time, we were governed by hours of rest. So if there were certain days that we went into the red, if the boat had an accident and it's an insurance claim, the first thing that they'll ask for is hours of rest. Yeah. And if you've got all of your crew in the red, you're at breach. And so for me, when I'm looking at her and going, you're essentially so fatigued that it's like you're drunk. And if the captain was so fatigued or drunk and driving the boat, like it's not okay. So I just don't understand where that kind of came from. And I did used to be a little bit like that until a particular role where I was chewed up and spat out by a family. And that just made me realize, I was like, why? For what? You know, and you made a really amazing point to me once in hundreds of conversations that we've had, you bust your ass for this legacy that you're so hard trying to build, but for what? Like if you're building this legacy for your family and your wife and your son, but you don't see them and they don't see you, what's it really all for? Yeah,
100%. And that's, you know, when I see the leaders following that path, I call it the old school path, because I think there's lots of really good leaders now that are coming through that, you know, focus on their health first and foremost, then their families, and then obviously work. And, you know, in my view, they're probably even more effective than the ones that are working around the clock, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, you still see the old school mentality still there.
I often get asked a lot from people if anyone can be a leader. And it's such a massive question. And I think, well, do you think anyone can be a leader?
No, I think you've either got leadership qualities or you don't. And I feel like there's some you can develop for sure. But I think you've either got, I think that the great leaders that I've ever worked with and for, they've had these traits. They care about people. They're really good at listening. They're strategic in the way they think. They empower, but they empower when someone's got the skills to do the job. They just have these leadership qualities that not everyone has. But you can also see it in people that haven't been given the opportunity to be a leader. You see it around their peers. So they'll be helping their peers. They, if someone's struggling, they'll make sure that they're, they get their stuff done. They help out. They care about feelings and all that sort of. There's a leadership qualities in people that you can pick up pretty quickly.
So when people say, "Oh, you're a natural born leader," you believe that?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's, you see it in sport as well. Some of the best captains of sporting teams are great leaders, and they're not necessarily the best player on the field. True. But how many times do you see?
Well, look at Fags, like Brisbane Lions coach. Yeah. He never played.
Yeah. But then you see other times where like the best player has been made the captain, but doesn't get the respect of the team. Yeah. Because their leadership qualities aren't great. It's all about them. Yeah. But in my view, some of the best captains around, like you think about Cam Smith and those sort of players, right? From an NRL perspective, great player, but even more importantly, had the team around him. They respected him.
I guess probably because you've done it right. I think when it comes to leadership, there's a lot of the times where I would always ask my team to do things, and I would do it with them as well, because I just wanted to always show I'm happy to get down and dirty and do this, clean a toilet with you, vacuum a cabin with you.
Yeah.
It goes a long way when and then asking them like, hey, do you mind please getting that done for me? Yeah, sure. Because they know in the back of their mind, if I don't do it, she is going to.
Yeah.
But I get asked that a lot. Can I be a leader? And I think, to your point, I would agree with a lot of it. And you've said to me too that you think a great leader is an excellent communicator.
For sure.
And I couldn't agree with that more, because there's never any gray areas. You're very clear and concise in direction. But, like they say, leaders lead by leading, not telling. No, leaders lead by doing, not telling.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's obviously there's a two side of that as well, as like, you don't want to get in and do too much of the doing as well. Of course. Right. Because you need to empower your team to get the job done. But also, what's your thoughts on, I'm a big accountability guy, right? And it's I've got this thing which I'm kind of going down the rabbit hole on, which is like this whole A player versus B player thing, right? Okay. Around teams not wanting to play with B players, right? So think about a business. If you're like really good at your job, you're a great teammate, I'd call you an A player. If you're really good at your job, but no one wants to work with you because you're not a great teammate, you're probably a B or C player. And I've got this theory, and there's a lot of leaders out there have the same theory. It's like that, if you've got A players on a team, but they're surrounded by B and C players, they're not going to last very long. They're going to go work elsewhere.
Yeah.
But the thing that leaders struggle with is that B and C players need to be managed, and A players, they want to be managed with high accountability, and that's performance management and recognition at all levels, right? So A players stick around if they know that the bottom end's being managed really, really well, right? And if they're not going to be successful or be part of this team, they'll be managed out.
Yeah.
And then you bring in more A players. So what's your thoughts on businesses or teams that kind of keep, the substandard around for too long?
Oh, it's tricky. I don't think it's right. I think at the end of the day, if people can't do the job, the bare minimums as well, like they've got to go. But I think it's also the qualities in them as a person and whether they're moldable or not. And you do have to have a nice mix of a number of different personality traits and leadership qualities within a team for it to work. And I think a lot of that comes down to culture. And a lot of the things that I've seen as well is like in the onboarding, there's gaps, big gaps. Like company handbooks are, this is your job, this is what you do, but nothing really around, these are our non-negotiables, this is what we expect of you as an employee, this is what you can expect from us as a company, as a management team. And then they're allowing everyone to just kind of pick up on culture. Because you might have these people from the get-go and from the interview process that nail on the head exactly what you want. But then they start they're an A player, then they start to turn into a B or C player because of the culture that's already embedded. So they start to shift and pick up on these traits. And then the bad blood starts to spread. And then they're in such a negative mindset that they're just like, oh, well, why am I even here? So it's really, I think substandard players shouldn't be around, but then are they a substandard player in the things that you're giving them, or are you trying to find out what actually makes them tick so that they do have a place on the team?
So you went exactly where I thought you were going to go, which is perfect, which is that it's the result of the leader. Yeah. Right. So there's so many, you go into these businesses and they're like, this person's a B player or a C player. And then you go through the process you just went through, which is like, okay, what training have they had? What's their performance management look like? How are you holding them accountable? What you find is it's leadership led. Yeah. Yes, you get the odd person that just isn't the right fit, right? But in most cases, it's because they haven't been provided the clarity on what's actually required for the job. And then it's the training to back it up as well.
Yeah. And even to that point, I mean, I spent some time with one of my clients the other day, and there's a lot of tasks that are not being done. And I'm mentoring and I'm coaching one of the managers, and the manager's saying, can you please get this done? Can you please do this? And I stopped and I said, can you give them some clarity and some context on why we've asked them to do this task. Instead of just saying like, and the task is there, there's checklists, there's everything. And also things have been ticked off, marked off, did it, you lied because now you're asking me how to do it. So, but it's something that I see, oh, do this, get this done. And I'm like, why do we want them to do this for us? What is the end result of this task? Because it's going to make the business better in what way, shape or form, so that they understand, oh, I need to make that call because of this reason. And it's that constant thing too, where you go into new businesses and you speak to someone that's been there for 10 years. Why do you do it this way? Oh, I've always done it that way. And I'm like, okay, but why?
Yeah.
And I found that a lot on the boats. You know, we had specifically with the last one, a lot of staff that had been with the family for a long time. So people fall into this knowledge base and, oh, the knowledge there is just amazing. And yes, it is valuable. However, things change over 20 years and we don't need to keep doing things the same way just because. Let's step into the new age and look at, especially now with AI and technology and the way that things can support you and make you more efficient. There's just there's that attitude and that stigma around, oh, well, just because I think it's just, I don't buy that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got this like routine that I'm trying to get off the ground with some of the leaders I'm coaching, and it's changing the whole half yearly reviews and full year reviews being almost like irrelevant, and it moves to being weekly and monthly, right? So you have like these quick 15 to 30 minute sort of, call them whips, so work in progress, to make sure that they're, you know, delivering on expectation.
Yeah.
But then the monthly is like the performance side of it. So it's like your performance review essentially, but it's a monthly thing. So you're not waiting. Because how many team members have you heard of that, like, they don't know how they're actually going at all? They're waiting for their half year review. They get the half year review, get some feedback that they haven't heard of. And then they get to their full year review and they get more feedback they haven't heard of. Like shifting that's, I guess, that schedule or that working rhythm to be more of like a daily, weekly, monthly sort of thing. So
interesting that you say that. I worked with a client that did that, and I told them to stop doing it.
Why?
Because they were doing it 6 weekly, I think. And I said, so tell me why it's so frequent. And they said, oh, well, it gives the opportunity for the staff member to bring up things that have bothered them and that they want to talk about. I was like, okay. And I saw gaps within their communication. So when I saw the gaps in the communication and I realized they did that, there was this culture that was your opportunity to talk to the manager. So they would hold on to things for too long and it would fester. So, and that was obviously a gap in the leadership because you haven't fostered the culture for them to feel really open and warm to come to you about anything, any time of the day or night, or not night, sorry, day or week.
Yeah.
And they were finding that staff were asking them questions about remuneration too frequently. And I think that with the annual review, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be anything between the annuals, but the annual review has always been that typical moment where we go, okay, 12 months have passed. How has it been? You did great. Here's a pay rise. Here's this, that, those moments where those sorts of things start to come up. And with these constant reviews, people were like, oh, well, you know, it's time for my pay rise. I did really well. And it's like, well, it's only been 6 months. And they're like, okay, well, I'll talk about it next month. And then it becomes this thing that's then almost awkward and they're ungrateful. And so I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Let me spin it a different way. Because I think we're almost on two different tracks here. So I'm not saying to call it a performance review.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is to hold them accountable for the expectations of the job.
Yeah.
So then the person knows on a more frequent basis, how am I going?
Yeah, of course.
Am I successful in my job or am I not?
Yeah. And
then on a monthly basis, like when you do your end of month review, it's like, cool. So you got 12 of these months in a year. I've ticked this one off as a success, and then you're powering into the next one. The formal annual review is a different story because that's like, how did you go for the year? Okay, out of the 12, I was successful in 6 of the 12. Am I up for a pay review? Well, you're probably still, you're successful, but are you exceeding? So those conversations are formal and need to happen annual. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think where the gap is that when the competency gap and the acknowledgement of, are you being successful, or is there some gaps we need to address? 6 and 12 months windows they're just too long.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like just trying to shorten that window of feedback and ability to get better.
I feel like some people hide from such frequency because they're scared of the negatives that's going to come up in the business, the frustrations that are going to come up in the business, because they know that there's things wrong that they need to improve. Some have the ability to improve that, and some others, their hands are tied because it's got to go, up the chain and things like that. And they're like, oh, I just don't want to get into a room with them and hear what they've got to say and come at me. And I'm experiencing that now with a particular client. I'm asking, can we have these team meetings? Can we have this? And I'm just being ignored because they know once they get on that call, it's going to be hard for them in the beginning because they're going to everyone's going to come at them, but just get it out of the way. Just front up to it.
Yeah. I find the businesses that are the most successful love feedback and they love accountability. The ones that have problems and cracks are the ones that don't. It's like the good old bury your head in the sand or go away sort of thing. 100%. Right? And the best, I guess, leaders, they do a great job of making sure that people understand where they're at, they feel supported, but they also know they're being held accountable for a job. And I think the right people thrive in that environment.
What's one of the worst traits that you find within a poor leader?
Well, the first one's just lack of communication, because when you're not communicating to your team, it's almost like there's no leader in place. Yeah. But also I feel like the ability to listen. Because sometimes when a team member's coming to you to either vent or to get, some feedback or whatever it might be, we're so quick to try to fix things and we're so quick to try to provide advice rather than just listening. Yeah. So I think, and that's a communication skill in its own right. So I think communication would be a big one. And then the ability to be able to, extract the best out of your team. Yeah. Yeah. I find it's, not that it's a bad thing because you can't help if you've got it, but I find that poor leaders are very insecure. Interesting. And how would you see that? Because they're so threatened if they teach people to essentially do their job. Yeah. Because a great leader would be like, I'm skilling you up to essentially take my job. Yeah. But I'm confident in what I do in the job that you're not coming for my role. But if you can pretty much be on par with me in terms of skill set, we're just stronger. And I see a lot of the gaps in poor leadership is that they're so worried if they share knowledge, they're gone. Yeah. Would you agree? Yeah, 100%. It's an interesting one. You see it. Humans are interesting. Well, yeah, absolutely. The reason that's interesting is because they shouldn't be in the leadership role in the first place. That's the first thing. Like if you can't share and you don't want your team to grow, then you're not going to look good as a leader anyway. Yeah. So you got to kind of, the whole idea is, as soon as you go into any leadership role, entry-level leadership, the whole idea is to upskill your team so you've got someone to replace you to move on. Yeah. It's like they say, like your team will make you look good so you can move on. Yeah. And I think that kind of, to your point, starts to dwindle away a little bit the higher you go up the ranks, because obviously there's less roles available. Of course. Yeah, the higher you go. So that's where you find a lot of, directors and C-suites, they move across businesses. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So if someone was listening now, say for example, they're 2IC or they're under a leader that's really terrible leader, great person, terrible leader. And I actually had that when I worked in media. I had a manager who I absolutely adored as a person, but they just didn't get me. And you have to understand the person that you're trying to lead and play to their strengths. And it was very much like a formula thing. So I would go into my whips, my week in progress meetings, and sit in there, and it was just, for me, it felt the same as everyone else. And I was like, I can't do this. And I'd gone to management. I was like, this is not working for me. Like, well, you got to give it a crack. I'm like, I did. It's not working. But the second we walked out of the office, we would be having a glass of wine together, arm in arm, because I loved them as a person. But as a manager, like we could go fisticuffs. So what would happen in those whips?
I would say, honestly, I'm like, she's like, well, you just need it was a sales role. So it was, I had things that were sitting at 50%, 80% pending. And she's like, well, you just got to get on the phones. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Like I have to prospect and cold call. That's a sales role. I get that. And I was very open, like, so this particular client, these are some of the things that I'm getting back in response. These are the ways that I'm handling that. Can you give me any other tools for me to close or a particular angle to use? Well, have you followed up? And I'm like, bro, honestly.
Yeah.
So if someone was listening and they were under someone like that they're just constantly butting heads with, can you give any advice, or do you have any advice on how they can try and tackle that?
Yeah, well, it comes down to the business and the size, obviously. But for me, the first thing I do is there someone in my current role that's really good that I can learn from? So it might be it might be not in your team, it might be someone else in another team that's a really good closer in sales or really good at overcoming objections or whatever it might be. So try to find that person. If that person isn't available in your business because you're a smaller team and you're not getting the feedback or the coaching or guidance from your leader, then really the only other step you've got is to, if there isn't a level up, is to raise your concerns at that next level. So you're just not getting what you need to be able to be successful. But that'll be the first thing. It'll be just try to find a peer that has those traits that you're lacking and that you need some support in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in what you do now, coaching and consulting, what's your why with that? What are you trying to change, improve, shift?
Yeah. So for me, it's obviously had the corporate background in my own company for 10 years, right? So during both of those seasons of life, I've demonstrated that leader that I mentioned earlier, which isn't very, in my new world, isn't very inspiring. I worked my ass off. I was in the office early, left late. But that was with Coca-Cola. That season of my life was different because didn't have a family. I was single for most of it. So putting in the hours didn't really bother me because I was going after my career. But then, fast forward to my own company, I had a young family and I still kept the same traits. And then when, you decide to move on from that and you go, gee, that was 10 years. I poured my life into that. And then, you got your family that's on the sideline watching and supporting, but I missed so much time with my family. My health wasn't as good as it should have been. So I got the chance to reconnect. And what I realized is that, because I started looking at some of the best leaders that I look up to, and they've all focused on their health and well-being first. And they're super focused on their personal and professional goals.
Yeah. So
I did a bit of work and pulled together a bit of a framework, which I think allows leaders to be set up for success. So which is the Cut Through Clarity program, which I've done. So my purpose now is to literally help the leader that I used to be, founders that are building businesses that just need to put better frameworks and systems around stuff, and kind of show that you can be super successful and a highly effective leader by not burning it at both ends. So I've got obviously a 3-year-old son now who, he wants to be dropped at daycare. He wants me to spend time with him on the weekends and stuff, right? So I remember I put a post up on LinkedIn a while ago, and literally this is the first oh shit moment. And it was literally, we're playing out in the backyard, my phone vibrates in my pocket. I pull my phone out, typical me, just to check the email, and I'm looking down at it, and he's got the footy. And he goes, Dad. And I've looked up, and he goes, put your phone away. And at this stage, he's 2.5, right? So he's just really just starting to communicate properly. Put your phone away. And I was like, shit, put my phone away.
Yeah.
And all he wanted, he couldn't give a shit what was on the phone. He was like, just keep the footy with me. So from that moment, now my phone, literally I get home, my phone goes on the kitchen bench on charge, and it's time with him. So that's, my drive now, my purpose is to help leaders just, focus on what's important.
It's interesting. I think my niece and nephew they've got iPads, and they would have them quite a lot. And my sister-in-law had said, we've taken them away from, they only get some time at the weekends in the morning. And she's like, they're different children. And my cousin's child, who we met recently, I met her as a baby, she's grown now, but room full of adults, having a couple of beers, a couple of glasses of wine. And she was at the kitchen table and she turns to my auntie and she's like, and who are you? And how do you fit into the picture? And I was just like, this girl is 8 years old and she held a conversation with every single adult the entire night. And my cousin said to me, she's like, she doesn't have an iPad. So like, it's really interesting. Screens with kids, we see the effects, and screens with adults also have effect.
It's an interesting one. Screens with kids, because Marky and I were like, we'll hold screens back from Jet. When you're on a freaking 12-hour flight to the US, there's times where screens come in, right?
100%. They have their place.
So I think it's about limiting it and also realizing that we're going into a digital era as well. So there's definitely a time and place for it. But absolutely, I've seen, there's been times, and we're guilty of it, where literally Jet will be on the iPad and we'll forget about it. And it'll be like an hour gone and we're like, go over, his eyes are red. And I'm like, oh shit, take the iPad off him, right? But I think that that ability for kids to be able to communicate and be involved in that sort of environment, it's crazy.
And I said to my husband, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want our kids to have iPads. And he's like, honestly, they'll be left behind. Yeah. Like it's just, you have to. I
remember the first time that we realized that he could unlock the iPad. So we locked it. We're like, yeah, we're not getting it back on this thing. And we put it up on the couch and he found a way to climb to get it. And then I don't know, I think we might have been in the kitchen. And next week we hear the iPad going, like the sound of the iPad. He was watching Spider-Man or Paw Patrol or something. I'm like, how the hell did he get into that? We go down there and he literally, mind you, the code's not very hard. It's like 4 zeros. But he worked it out. But he opened it and he opened his iPad, 4 zeros, and he was in.
But even you show kids stuff on screens now and they can zoom and they go, like they know they can navigate their way around a screen, and there's things that I don't even know.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, God, that's a whole, episode.
Like, that's a good way to kind of dovetail into leadership in the future, like what we're leading into. Because I had this thought around, back in the day, you could be the leader that's like, people look up to you and they're like, this guy knows his shit, or this lady knows his shit. Now it's like, does this lady or does this guy actually know his shit? I'm just going to ask ChatGPT, or I'm going to chuck in Gemini and actually see whether what they're saying to me is correct. And I'm even seeing it now with some emails coming through to me, which might be HR things or might be legal things. And you can tell that they've just chucked it into one of the AI tools, got a response 100%. And chucked it into an email, right? And that left me thinking like, well, what does that mean for leaders in the future? If what used to be deemed as like, oh, cool, I'll listen to my boss because obviously they got the experience, I'll follow the lead, versus now the ability to quickly almost like check their work before you follow.
Yeah.
Does it mean now that leaders are more about building team culture, being the person that connects them together, embraces sharing, and it's more like, the team environment where you just want to see everyone succeed and not be that sort of hierarchical thing? What's your thoughts?
I think, and the whole AI conversation is so incredibly fascinating. I don't know enough about AI to comment on how that will shift us, but I think from my perspective, AI can impersonate a human, but it's not a human. And I think it's good. I think it's great that it's challenging humans to be more human. And for me, I created my company because, especially in Australia, the cost of dining out and entertainment and things like that had almost doubled. But the customer service levels had more than halved. And I love going out and spending money, but I want to walk away from that feeling like every single dollar that I spent was so worth it. And I'm at a situation now as a consumer where I will walk away from some particular establishments and I'm like, that was a fucking joke. Like, what a ripoff.
Yeah.
So for me, if AI can't take over someone looking after you at a restaurant, being personable and making your experience something that you'll remember.
Yeah.
AI can answer, well, and look, again, like I'm not, maybe it will, but AI can impersonate a phone on the end of the line and take a call and, record a message and help and make us more efficient. But I think I like the fact that it's challenging people to be like, holy shit, I can't keep coasting anymore because I'm being challenged by something.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that leadership element of, if it's going to take over technological tasks. Well, what am I going to have to do as a human to step it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
Like, I love it. I'd lean into it massively.
Yeah.
I feel like teams are going to become so much more efficient.
Yeah.
I think that leaders need to be in a position where they can empower and inspire their teams to obviously use the tech that's coming through, but also to be that people aspect, that supportive, the coaching, the guidance, that sort of space. So yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what that landscape looks like in the future. Yeah,
it is a bit nerve-wracking. But now, episode 2.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about the podcast?
I'm feeling excited because we've literally got a list of
booked out
guests already booked, like literally for all the slots that we've got available at this stage. So that's cool. Looking forward to getting into those conversations and having, a guest in here that we can unpack their story and hopefully inspire others. And yeah, it's like, we spoke about it, and it's happening and it's exciting.
Even with submitting guests as well, and if anyone listening has a great story for themselves, like please reach out. We've had people submit guest options through our website, and it's just lovely to see that people are already engaging with us and are submitting people they want to hear from, which is awesome. Sure.
And when we do get to these sort of pods, love those questions to also come through the website around questions they would like us to answer. So.
Amazing.
Is there anything else you want to cover today?
No, I've had enough of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, peace out.
See ya.